Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. So this is lesson number 4 from the Creator Weekend that I went to last weekend. Again, a little bit of backstory. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes in this series, I was invited out to this Airbnb Creator Weekend getaway thing by my buddy Max. And it was just 15 of the internet's top creators, people who are killing it, absolutely slaying it in the YouTube, Twitter, Instagram game. It was a pretty remarkable opportunity for me getting outside of my silo, because creation is inherently kind of a siloed activity, right? Like you wake up in the morning, you start writing, you work on scripts, you do your videos. You're not necessarily engaging with a lot of other creators. And so I think that it's very important to get outside of your bubble sometimes, get outside of your own world and go and see what other people are doing. And you can gain inspiration, you can gain some tactical takeaways that you're like, oh, I could be doing this differently and I'd have a lot more success. And so weekends like this, very, very powerful, but they're also kind of exclusive, right? Like there was nobody in this group that didn't have a couple 100,000 subscribers or followers on social media. And so if you're just starting out in your creation journey, like that's a high hurdle. And so it's like, how do I get into those rooms? What do they talk about? What are the lessons? And so that's my attempt in this series, where I'm going to share 10 lessons that I observed throughout this weekend with just incredible creators. So that if on your journey, you can kind of, take these lessons and maybe implement them and achieve, the success that you're striving for. Because I know for myself, I spent many, many years putting out content and creating and trying to get that traction so I can, have access to these people who I look up to as like idols in a lot of ways. And now they're becoming more like peers. And so just trying to bring some of that insight over to you if you're, depending on where you are in your journey, and hopefully you find that valuable. So today's lesson number 4 is that A players, they think differently. So throughout literally hundreds of conversations that I had throughout this weekend, I never once heard anybody say something like, well, actually, right? In my experience with these people, they're not interested in proving how much they know. They're not interested in telling you that you're wrong and making their opinion like the right one. What they're interested in is in extracting as much knowledge from you as possible. So if you say something that they disagree with, they don't just dig in and try to prove why they're right and you're wrong, which I think is the default state for a lot of people in the world, where if you say something they disagree with, they feel immediately compelled to point out why you're wrong. And instead, hanging out with these guys, what was really interesting is that they don't do that. When you say something that they disagree with, they ask questions to better understand your position. Because over and over and over again, I'm just reminded that the goal isn't to be right, it's to get to the right answer quickest. And you can't get to the right answer quickest if you're convinced from the outset that your answer is the right one. And so there's this open-mindedness that these people take into conversations with peers and with people who maybe, are further ahead of them or behind them, like whatever. Like they do this with everybody in every conversation they go into, and they ask themselves, what can I extract from this person? What do they have to teach me? Because I do believe that everybody in this world has something to teach you, but it's your job to discover what that is, to extract it from them, because most people aren't just walking around with a big billboard on their head with the big lesson that they have to teach you. You have to figure that out by being interested in asking good questions. And the better questions that you can ask, the better answers you're actually going to be able to triangulate to, which inevitably is going to lead to better results. And that's really all that matters in this game of entrepreneurship or business or creating, is getting to the actions that are going to result in the best results, right? Not just being right and like being self-righteous about it and saying, I have the right answer. But in reality, it's not the right answer. And then this is the thing that really trips up people, I think, is that because we go into a lot of conversations that are heated, maybe political or religious or like whatever, like we go into it with a very particular worldview that we're just looking for evidence that confirms our perspective rather than evidence that contradicts it. And I think we would be so much better off if everybody went into the conversation assuming that they were wrong, and instead of defending their perspective at all costs, they were actually seeking contradicting information that would lead them, compel them to change their mind. And I think that's how you zigzag your way towards objective truth. And the people who are most successful in life, from my experience and observing them from a distance, and is that they have the most accurate representation, mental representation of reality. They don't live in a world of delusion. The things that a lot of us put up as what would be the word? We put up these images or these mirages of reality, and we're not looking clearly at what the truth actually is, big T truth. And the most successful people here that I've seen now is that they're just interested in getting to the right answer. There's no prize given away at these things for being a know-it-all. Like, nobody likes a know-it-all. I've never met what I would consider an A player know-it-all. By definition, people who feel compelled to know it all and prove it to people, they're a B player. And I was this way all throughout my 20s. And it was one of the big beliefs, one of the big things about my personality that I've had to battle incessantly over the last decade, is that a lot of my personal value that I see in myself is tied to my intelligence or my ability to have the correct answer. And I tied up the fact that I thought people wouldn't value me if they thought I was stupid, if they thought that I was wrong about things. And so I would dig my heels in and I would fight tooth and nail to prove why I was right. And all this does is it turns people off. And it takes you further and further from actual truth. And instead, you're playing this game that nobody else is interested in playing with you. And so success ultimately flows to those who commit to learning the most. And the people who are committed to learning the most are also the open-minded. They're the ones that are open to the possibility that they don't have all the answers. And so don't be the know-it-all. That is never going to be a winning proposition. So that is today's lesson. Lesson number 4, A players think differently. They behave differently, and as a result, they have different outcomes. So I hope this brought you a little bit of value. As always, thank you for being here. I'll catch you back around these parts tomorrow, but until then, stay hyper-focused, my friend.